All right, hey Salem family. So I am at the Osborne's house today, and Bella and Abby are here with us, making their presence known. But I'm here because Venessa wants to share a story that hopefully will be an encouragement to you.
So I was actually born in Namibia, and I'm very proud of the fact.
Now, to clarify, Namibia is not South Africa?
Not South Africa.
Just right above?
Yep, okay. Right above and to the west.
And to the west, okay.
Yes. And me and my family, we moved to South Africa when I was 3 years old.
Oh, okay.
So I am pretty much South African. Yeah. I grew up in a pretty normal household, Christian household. But it was pretty legalistic.
Okay.
I went to Sunday school pretty religiously and learned a lot. A lot of my Bible knowledge comes from those first foundational years. Yeah. I would say our family really, our faith life deepened when my dad gave his life to the Lord. And that was when I was about middle school age.
So was it your mom bringing you to church?
It was a family thing, but I would say my mom's faith was much stronger than my dad's because his was more the rule-based Christianity until, when he gave his life to God. And then we changed churches, and that church had a really good youth group. And I still remember this so clearly. The first Friday night that I had to go to youth group, there was a TV show on that I really just wanted to watch so badly because I did it every Friday night.
Yeah, sure.
And this Friday night, my mom said, "You have to go to youth group." I was so upset to go to youth group. But you know what? That night, I had the time of my life, and I gave my life to Christ that night. Yeah. So I would say that beat out P.S. I love you.
I suppose.
And we had a really great time going to that church. And all of my family did really well in our relationships with God. And I myself loved going to that church. Loved serving God. I started serving on the worship team there. And we went on missions trips. I remember one specific missions trip we went to. I was a clown, and I did clown ministry.
Clown?
Yeah.
Okay, we have to explain that a little bit.
Clown ministry on the beach in South Africa.
Okay.
So you dress up as a clown.
Like white face.
Yep, the whole works. And you have face paint.
Yeah.
So you just grab random kids on the beach and you say, "Hey, can I paint your face?"
Yeah.
And then you explain the gospel story while you paint their faces. Yeah. So that was...
Are there pictures of this?
There's maybe one that I can dig out. Not that I want to. Yes, so that was middle school into high school. Okay. And when I was in high school, we moved back to a town called Secunda.
I've heard of Secunda.
Is probably the ugliest town in South Africa that you can ever get. So when you think of South Africa with nice flowers and green grass and stuff, that's not Secunda.
No, I've heard it's a factory town.
Yeah, it's a factory town, a mining industry, and people are severely depressed overall in Secunda. Okay. So it was kind of a time for our family to move back there. And my mom and dad started going through some troubles. Not that they led on to the family.
Sure.
But I went to university in Pretoria after graduating from high school. And I met Stephen the last year of college.
Okay.
So it was both his last year of college and mine.
Yours. Okay.
Yep, so the timing was really good. And we ended up going to the same camp. Like youth camp, and we both ministered there. So that was where we kind of really met each other, got to know each other. And I'll tell this story because it's super funny.
I was going to ask if there's a funny story, so I'm glad you're bringing it up.
He told me at the end of this camp, he said, because we both had like still a week or maybe 2 weeks of vacation left. And he said, now, if you want to come visit me in my hometown at my parents' place, just call me. And he gave me his number. So I'm like, okay. And it was a few days later, I called him, and because he said I could, I called him up and I said, hey, I'm free this weekend. He said I can come visit. Can I come this weekend then? He was quiet for like a few minutes, and then he started laughing.
What a jerk.
And then he tells me, I was only kidding.
Oh boy.
That was about the most uncomfortable conversation I ever had.
And you ended up marrying him.
I'm like, I just made a complete and utter fool of myself in my head.
Yeah.
I didn't tell this to him, but put down the phone. And I ran to my buddies down the hall because I was living at a dorm at that time. And I just told them, I just made the biggest fool of myself. I called this guy because he said I could call him.
Yeah, seems logical.
Yeah, exactly. But it was about 5 minutes later he called back and he just apologized. And he said, listen, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I responded that way. I think I just didn't ever expect you to really call. So he didn't know how to act.
Respond, yeah.
So I ended up going that weekend. And we had a really good time. His grandmother liked me. And I'm so grateful for that, because if she doesn't like someone, she lets you know. And you will know it for the rest of your life.
Okay. I'm glad I'm in the States.
I went home to Pretoria to go finish my studies. But on the way there from that weekend, I was in a massive car accident. I totally rolled the car and it was totaled. But I got out of the car without a scratch.
Really?
Wow. I think Satan was just upset. And he kind of knew that, obviously Stephen and I hit it off. And he wasn't happy, obviously, that we're two Christians. And he was probably scared. I don't know. But he wanted to take my life, I'm pretty sure. But that being said, I had to call Stephen again and said, can you come pick me up? I'm on this side of the freeway.
Wow.
Totaled my car. I guess I need to spend 2 more days with you. He's like, oh, that's pretty desperate for 2 more days. But we dated for 6 months. And we got married after 6 more. So it was a kind of a whirlwind romance, just 1 year. We got married, and Stephen started at a church right after our honeymoon. So we were right in the thick of things in ministry right from the start. And it was a pretty good ministry for us. It was actually the church that I was a part of with my parents in Secunda.
Oh, okay.
That lead pastor appointed Stephen as youth pastor.
Okay, wow.
So it was the connection.
Sure.
It was pretty tough that first year. I worked really, really hard at my job. And then, of course, the youth group was basically non-existent. So we had to work very hard to build everything up. And a lot of pressure, of course, with ministry and not really knowing what the heck you're doing. But God was really gracious to us and He pulled us through. But it was a really difficult first year.
Sure.
To make matters worse, during that first year of marriage, my parents got divorced. And it really just came to light how many problems there really were in their marriage that kind of were just not ever talked about or discussed or even brought to the light so that they could receive help or counseling or anything. None of it ever happened, and it was just a huge, huge shock to me and all of us. At that time, I still had 2 brothers in the house, and it was much tougher on them than me. But they did go to our youth group, so Stephen and I were able to be a support system for them. But that just added to the very, very difficult first year there in our marriage there. Stephen, to go back just a little bit, just before we got married, I think, Stephen did mention to me that he has a pretty strong feeling that he is called to minister in America and that we would probably end up in the US. And me being naive and in love, I was like, oh, okay, Stephen, yeah, sure. You know, but not really realizing the impact of it or, you know, that this is real. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about. I didn't think it through that much. And as in that first year of marriage, he kept bringing it up. And I was very much opposed to it at that point. I was like, no, I love South Africa. I love my roots. I love my language, love my family. All my friends are here. What are you talking about? Is this real? What, really? But with my parents' divorce and all of that, at that point I was just like, yes, take me out of here. I'm ready. And even with my job, I was like, this is not the job that I want, that I envisioned, that I want to do for the rest of my life. Very, very stressful. So God just used all of the circumstances, although I don't believe that it was His perfect will. He used all of the circumstances to kind of push me to be okay with coming to the US. And Stephen will talk a little bit more of how we ended up here, but it was miraculous. We pretty much, it was a very fast process. We sold everything, sold our house. It just came with a couple or 4 suitcases, couple each. And we started in Fairmont, Minnesota. Just me personally, the type of person I am, I grew up extremely shy. Extreme shy child. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Like my mom describes, when she took me to childcare or daycare, she dropped me off and I would have a little suitcase by me and I would go and I would just sit down in the corner. And literally when she picked me up, I was in the same position with my little suitcase. Just like looking at everybody and not saying anything. Like I was
observing the whole time.
Extreme shy child. and pretty insecure as well. So God had me in ministry, married to a pastor, still with major insecurities. And I would say I'm not totally secure and confident yet.
Sure.
But compared to where I was to where I am at now,
Absolutely.
It's like night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So God has really worked on me and with me. But what I have realized in my life is that I really have to take the pressure off of myself, because I am a very internally motivated person.
Okay.
And I'm much tougher on myself usually than what
than
other
anybody else
people,
would be.
anybody else.
Yeah.